future of virtual motorsports is now. This September, the heart of sim racing beats in Chicagoland as the Sim Gaming Expo takes over the Schaumburg Convention Center, September 5th through the 7th. Go wheel to wheel in our competition area, test the latest gear, meet top brands, creators, and celebrate with fellow sim racing enthusiasts. Whether you're a seasoned sim racer or new to the sport, this is your chance to be part of history. To purchase tickets and see the full exhibitor lineup, visit SimGamingExpo.com.
Live from iRacing's virtual Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Season 2 opener of the premier sim racing Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series. A new season is upon us, and we're happy that you're sticking with us on a Wednesday night here on Green Flag TV. As always, with myself, Evan Posocco, joined with Derrick Watson in the broadcast booth, our producer, Dustin Ollis, bringing us to you. And only 2 weeks removed, Derrick, from a championship for Richard Regan Jr., we are back at it once more. Some new faces and new challenges standing between us and this 10-week season.
Yeah, you know, Evan, in a lot of ways, second verse, same as the first. We're back here for Season 2. As you said, the premier sim racing, Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series. Look at the schedule. It's a little different this time around. It's 10 races. That's the first thing that's different. But a couple road courses here. Next week, we go to Lime Rock Park without the chicanes. We go to Daytona early in the season. Going to Gateway, IRP. Kentucky's back on the schedule. The Glen, the Milwaukee Mile. Maybe not diverse, Evan, as far as the types of tracks, but very diverse, and we're picking some old tracks that maybe, you know, aren't the most commonly used tracks.
Yeah, the big thing that stands out to me here is that exact point, right? It's not, a lot of Charlottes and Vegas and Chicago's and so on and so forth. You know, you look back to Season 1, right? We were in Charlotte, Nashville, Kansas, Texas, a lot of intermediate racetracks. There's a lot of short tracks in this. You got Milwaukee, Richmond, Kentucky's in there as a 1.5 miler, but you got Worldwide Technology, and then 2 road courses with the trip to the Glen and to Lime Rock Park next week. It is a very diverse challenge, and I think it is different. Now, it'll be a good opportunity for us to see for Richard Regan Jr. if he wants to go back-to-back on championships, is he going to be able to do so with a different set of tracks? I think if he does, it would make that Season 1 championship only that much more impressive. We're about to go qualifying in Pocono. First, want to say thanks to everybody who makes these broadcasts possible. We'll start at the top with our friends at the Sim Gaming Expo. Get ready for the ultimate simulation gaming experience. The Sim Gaming Expo is bringing all genres of simulation and gaming tech under one roof, September 5th through 7th at the Schaumburg Convention Center in Chicagoland. Test the latest gear, meet your favorite streamers, and connect with a community that lives and breathes simulation. Don't miss your chance to be a part of it. Grab your tickets now at SimGamingExpo.com.
I want to go ahead and thank tonight's race sponsors for the Nick and Ted's Tricky Triangle Extravaganza 190. Born out of a love for racing and adventure, Nick and Ted bonded over on-track shenanigans and became fan favorites and, well, lifelong friends. Together, they make a dynamic duo from maple syrup to champagne from a shoe. The adventures are endless. Nick and Ted are here to remind you to always have fun. Well, thank you, Nick and Ted, for sponsoring this race.
Also want to say thanks to one of our new partners, and that is Palm Rat Golf. Palm Rat Golf blends classic style with a modern fit designed to move you from the office to the course to wherever the day takes you. Timeless looks, everyday comfort, all in one. Palm Rat Golf, made to move, styled to stand out.
Next up is Outlap Motorsports. At Outlap, it's not just about horsepower and lap times, it's about the people behind the wheel. Whether they're in the paddock, in the pits, or wrenching late nights just like you. Whether you're chasing the tints on the stopwatch or just trying to clear your head on a Sunday drive, Outlap's got you covered with honest support, real tuning, and a true love for the motorsport scene. And here's the real talk. Motorsport is more than a hobby. For a lot of us, it's therapy. That's why Outlap proudly supports men's mental health and encourages drivers to check in with each other on and off the track. Fast cars, real talk, Outlap Motorsports.
And last but certainly not least, our friends at Window Nation. Window Nation is recognized by Forbes as the top vinyl window replacement company in the country. Their energy-efficient windows are designed to keep homes cool during the summer and warm through the winter, all proudly made in the heart of the USA. With expert installation and industry-leading quality, Window Nation is the smart choice for any window replacement project. Big thanks to all of them and all of our other partners for bringing tonight's coverage of this race to you. We are qualifying here in Pocono. 5-minute session. All the trucks out there on a closed track, so no interference from one another. 2-timed laps. Best one sits your spot in the qualifying session. Just now, because this track is so big, first handful of drivers getting their first laps in the books. Looks like Flo Dom is right now currently fastest on the board in the 113.
Yeah, right now you see one of the brand new drivers to the PSR, the number 79, one of the new Tabula Rasa esports drivers. This is Trace Paderni making his debut. Got to get to know the league a little bit. Last week they had some fun races. Evan kind of blew off some steam, let the new members get to know each other. But Trace is pulling it off here. Fastest lap of a 54.362. That puts him 14th on the board currently. But now over to Jeff Evans. And Jeff has had a very busy offseason. Evan, he is not only getting ready for Pocono, been painting the cars for Season 2 for his team, also prepping for endurance racing coming up. This is a very busy time of year for sim racing.
Yeah, it really is. And the next 10 of the next 11 weeks going to be taken up with this series. So these drivers have got a lot going on as well. New fast time belongs to Mark Kalen Bradley Holly, familiar name. He jumps to the number 2 position on the board. We saw Doms come back by the stripe. Flo did not improve on lap number 2. So lap 1 was the fastest for that driver and should go on board with Ted Lowendick. Curious if that's going to be a trend throughout the field. Ted is already on lap number 2, so must have had wall contact somewhere on lap number 1, Derrick. That would have disqualified the lap time from counting for Ted. So if the second lap is indeed slower, this may not be a lap time that the 13 truck is looking for.
Yeah, we'll talk about wall contact, but if we can go back to that onboard shot for a second. Oh, there's the corner there. That gummy cluster, look at that hair that gummy cluster has. He's been to the salon in the offseason. See that? It's
kind of giving like My Chemical Romance, like a little bit of the scene vibe for the haircut on the gummy cluster.
I'm putting this out there in the ether now. I know we're not even in the college football season yet, but I'm wondering when my Ohio State Buckeyes beat the Michigan Wolverines this year.
When is a crazy word.
When is the word I'm using. Can we get your hair done like that?
Well, it's not going to happen because they haven't beat Michigan in over like 1,000 days. So I don't think we've got to worry about that one. Also, not worrying too much was Ted Lowendick. He was able to get a pretty good lap time and slides into a top 15 spot. So that's a great recovery after missing out on his first time lap in Q. And that is it for qualifying. So let's head down trackside. And for the first time this season, we take a look at your Profit Python starting grid. In the end, Mark Kalen gets pole position in the number 62 Solpec Precision Racing Ford. He will bring us to the green flag next to the team hype number 38. That is James O'Brien. Back on row number 2, P3 starter tonight is going to be Robert Barney. To his outside in 4th, it's Thomas Sink. Row number 3, P5 goes to Bradley Holly, and Flo Doms will end up with a P6 spot. Good showing for the 113. Row number 4, inside, P7 goes to Steve Baker, and to the outside in 8th spot is Nicholas Schwartz. And back on row 5, your 9th place starter tonight, the 60 of Colton Lane. He's next to the 27 of Steve Loving, who rounds out your top 10.
Moving back into P11, it's going to be Richard Regan Jr., last season's series champion, next to Ted Lowendick in that very beautiful rainbow-colored car. Matt Scherf is in the 43 car. He's P13, next to Kyle Dewey back in P14. P15 is Brett Adams, and he's got Jeff Evans in 51 on the outside in P16. 17th is Nick Byer, part of the Gold Octopus Motorsports Black. He's next to Dustin Bumgarner in that 16 truck in P18. 19th is Reese Bogue, followed by a brand new driver this year, Doug Rice in the 20, and the number 35, Tabula Rasa Esports Black and Blue Machine.
That brings us halfway through the field. 21st on the grid is Mike Toomer Jr., and 22nd is Blaine Adams. 23rd will go to the 28 of Zachary Burnt, 24th to the number 19 of Nicholas Hunter. 25th on the grid, the number 12 of James Morgan. He'll be next to the 26th place starter, the number 14 of Matt Gagnon. 27th on the grid, the number 79 of Machine, that is Trace Pinerney, next to the 816, that's Nick Acosta in 28th. And back on row 15, P29 starter, the 6 of Evan Williams, to his outside, the number 41 of Doug Evans.
Back into P31 is Brandon Walter in the 99 truck, next to Zachary Williams in 32nd in the 89 truck. Brian Tope in a new look here this season. The 54 is next to Warren Young, one of our new drivers in that number 1 machine. Stacy Hunter is in the 71 truck, next to Jacob Watson in that black and green truck. The 55 of Karsten Quint is lined up next to Andrew Sharp in the 24 for 37-38. Drivers who did not get times counted in, Drew Wilkies in 39th. And Nathan Ray is your race admin. And 40th, I believe, Nick Seraf is in 41st.
It's going to be good top to bottom at that Profit Python starting grid. With Profit Python, every second counts on the track and in the world of deals. That's the edge of Profit Python. It's the ultimate Discord for deal hunters and side hustlers, with lightning fast alerts on price drops, secret sales, and hidden jackpots before the rest of the world catches on. The race to profit is on. Scan the QR code to join now. Profit Python, strike fast, profit faster. We are ready to get underway. The rules unchanged from what we saw in Season 1. Put 75 minutes on the board. And let's see what happens here tonight from Pocono. Race number 1 on this 10-race Season 2 for the SimGamingExpo Truck Series. And we're happy that you're with us on Green Flag TV. Mark Kalin brings us to the green flag in the Nick and Tendy's Tricky Triangle Extravaganza 190. Let's go racing in Pocono. Change for the race lead as they come off of the tunnel turn. It's new race leader Robert Barney. Kalin will not go down without a fight. He goes back down to the inside, side by side for the race lead. There's a black flag to James O'Brien, the truck who started second. He'll peel off to pit road off of turn 3.
Yeah, it looks like he made a jump to start. That's the calls. Already went down to pit road, so not going to contest that. Let's watch it here. I mean, just barely ahead of the leader, but apparently enough that it triggered. Must have been a speeding issue that we see there. And here we are now down into turn 1, and Caitlin's doing a pretty great job. Watch it again here. I mean,
Whew, that's close.
Yeah, without seeing more of it, without seeing the speeds, I guess is what I'm trying to say, which we're not going to see in the broadcast, unfortunately, unless he just stomped on the pedal too soon. I don't know. That's darn close.
It's a tight call. There's no objection from the O'Brien camp. He gets the penalty out of the way. The benefit of a very big racetrack is it doesn't cost him a lap. At some short tracks that we'll be at later this year, drive-through penalty might have just done that. So he's in a position with a fast truck, but lost a lot of track position. He's going to want some yellows in this race to make his way back through. Your leader starting to find some space. Mark Kalin had the lead take it away. He took it back just as fast. He leads. Flo Doms was the provisional fastest truck in practice and qualified for a few moments. What can the 113 do? Well, down a spot, Richard Regan made a pass a lap ago. That's the defending series champ up the road in the 56.
Yeah, there's Kyle Dewey making a pass there on the 43 truck. Kyle in that white and blue machine. And look at this big, long line. A couple words. I talked about some of the drivers in the past week. We talked to some of the Whataback guys, talked to some different drivers across the league. We talked about drafting, and we were all kind of surprised it's a word we're using. But down these long straights, that draft can mean something. You kind of already see it, Evan, based upon how long this line is. Very little deviance as far as, who's on what groove of the track on the straightaway. They're all lined up nose to tail.
There is big draft in this racetrack. Pocono Raceway, 3 corners, all distinctly modeled after other tracks around the country. So the banking in 1, different than it is in 2, different than it is in 3. The one common denominator, though, most of them have really long straightaways. Definitely the Long Pond backstretch, the run from turn number 1 down to the tunnel turn, the front straightaway, one of the longest in NASCAR. Plenty of opportunities for these trucks that are already so momentum critical as they are. Certainly here at Pocono, that is exemplified as see Evan Williams on board with the truck back in 25th, almost 180 miles an hour into the tunnel turn, the tightest of Pocono's 3 corners.
Yeah, for a lot of drivers, the most difficult. The turn modeled after Indianapolis Motor Speedway in turn 2 is really the hardest turn on this track for a lot of drivers. But that's sort of the key, I think, to this track as a driver, is everyone has a favorite turn, a turn you're okay with, and a turn you don't think you're great at, right? It's there's a game you can play that I can't think of an appropriate name for, but, it's the idea that you're just not great in every corner. And so here is turn 1. This is after Trenton Speedway. Then you got Indianapolis in 2. Then the Milwaukee Mile, which I think we're going to later in the season, in turn 3. So very, very different types of racing here on this tricky triangle.
Yeah, and we won't be hitting the Brickyard at Indianapolis, but if they get enough practice in, maybe when we head to IRP, they can go down the street, do some laps on the big track. But yeah Milwaukee going to be round number 9 later this year. So it'll be one of those flat ovals where some of those skills will come into play here at Pocono. You see that low-banked, wide, sweeping turn number 3 exit. The battle for P5 and 6 continues to be ongoing. That's number 2 is Steve Baker trying to serpentine a little bit down that long front straightaway to try to break the draft. Everybody's going to chase everybody down that front stretch, try to carry the draft through with them. Single file for the most part. Here's that next group of cars. The 33 Kyle Dewey back a few trucks in this battle. Tried to get to the inside of Colton Lane. Couldn't do it. Look at the leaders. That's a great example. Those top 3 all chasing each other, trying to break the toe.
Yeah, this serpentine thing is the thing I don't understand about Pocono racing, Evan. I get why you're doing it. I understand the science behind breaking the draft and, trying to kill the momentum. But if I'm, third in line and the 2 leaders want a serpentine, I would rather just kind of hold my line and just, use momentum from my draft to kind of to go past them. This serpentine has never made sense to me. I said, I would just stick in line and let them move the round and scrub speed. I'll just stay up top and slowly catch them. I don't get it.
Just taking a moment there, listening in. The drivers are kind of discussing over the radio as they're in close quarters. It's early in the year, right? I know we've only had a week off from the end of season number 1, but spirits are high. Everybody's in a bit of a good mood, right? We'll see if some rivalries and frustrations develop, but so far, things pretty cordial over the radio, and nothing on the racetrack seems to be out of line thus far as we keep that eye with your leader. And Mark seems pretty calm, not leaning out of the chair, trying to will that car through the corner. You can see him glance up every once in a while, likely looking at either a timing screen or to his mirror to see what Robert Barney's doing. I remember Barney was able to get that number 2 spot after your P2 starter in this race, James O'Brien, had a black flag. That gave him a spot. It moved Sink up 1. It moved Holly up 1. Those 4 up front have been stalwarts that have not given up much track position. That 62 looked like he almost lost the nose in the center of turn 1.
By the way, our first car out of the race already. Oh, they see there. That's what I would like to see Barney and others do. Look at it. Kalen tried to serpentine, and others said, "Hey, we'll just stick here and we'll let you do it." So that's what I would prefer to do. But to each their own. But I was gonna say the first, at least for now, retirement out of the race. Trace Paterni, one of our brand new drivers, that black and yellow Tabula Rossi Esports truck, lost power right as the race went green. So he is currently on his mobile phone chatting with us, but has no power at home. Unsure if he's returning to the race.
As somebody who has lost power from a Florida afternoon thunderstorm a time or two, I've been there, done that. One of the unfortunate parts, it's kind of the sim racing equivalency of a random mechanical failure, right? Some sort of issue with the rig, power issues, internet issues at home, and unfortunately, in that case, Drew Wilkie out of this race early. Nathan Ray never took to the green flag also, and then you talk about Trace with the power issues not in the race. You go on board. It's our first look at the defending champ, one of the bigger movers towards the front of the field. He's up 5 from where he was on the grid and looking for more. It's Richard Regan Jr. rocking the VR goggles, and he has his sights set on Steve Baker ahead of him for P5.
Yeah, what does it say about the season that Richard had when we saw him qualify out of the top 10, and I kind of almost sat back in my seat, was kind of shook, right? That I was not in the top 10, all right. But here he is, just kind of riding right behind. It's kind of right behind that 2 car, just trying to get comfortable, turn some laps. I mean, this is going to be a long race, right? Maybe not the most laps we're ever going to turn, but these are long laps. I mean, the fastest lap here is about 54 seconds. So we're likely to turn, when you think about 80 to 85 laps, if we stay green the whole time. That's a lot of laps for Pocono.
Yeah, this is a big track. One thing we were talking about pre-race with the 2.5 mile length of this Pocono Raceway. I mean, cautions are going to be long if you try to run around this place at a slowed pace. But it is a long race if it can stay green. And our drivers, I think, would welcome the opportunity to get those green flag laps in as things are heating up on the front row. All of a sudden, battles all throughout the field, but it'll include side by side for the race lead to make it 2 rows deep. Kalen under fire. Robert Barney challenging to the bottom. Directly behind them, Sink on the outside, pushing the 62. Holly was on the bottom. He tucks in line for the moment. We'll see. Kalen carries some speed on the exit of 1 to defend the lead. Looks like the sole Peck Ford does so.
Yeah, doing a great job here so far. Now, what we're going to see all night, Evan, and I kind of want to point out, we see one here. Despite how big this track is, and it's such a weird thing that happens, it is so easy to scrub a wall here, right? You're going to see it all night long, especially out of the tunnel turn right here. Sink got really close to it being kind of pushed up there by that blue car, but you're going to see drivers scrub that wall all night long. And what it's really going to do the most part is it scrubs some speed off of the truck. It's going to really annoy the driver. It could do some bigger damage if you really hit the wall instead of scrubbing it, but all night long, we're probably going to see some small gray puffs of smoke from drivers scrubbing the wall. Here's Bradley Holly. I guess you want to call it like a teal colored truck on the front, part of Whataback Racing. You see he's got the room matching the paint colors.
Teal's a good color. Let's go with the lights.
I like that.
I think I need to hire Bradley as a consultant to add some lights to my office to give it a bit of flair. And you mentioned it in Season 1. He'll change the color of those lights to match the race truck. Perfectly encapsulates what you're seeing on the 184 machine, although what we saw right there, a spot lost. That was the 2 of Steve Baker on the outside, making the pass on him. So Bradley does fall to P6. First time he's lost a spot tonight, and he continues to watch the battle for the lead continuing up front. And 26 of Barney just not willing to give it up on the bottom. Credit to Kalen, hasn't panicked and has been doing a good job of running that defensive higher lane.
Yeah, doing a great job. And so far, a great job by this whole field. This track, as I said, we call it the tricky triangle because of the shape of it, but it's really tricky. And this is a track where it's not as easy as they make it look to get around here. It's very difficult to get down these corners. It's very easy to kind of lose control, to hit a wall, to bounce off and hit something. So a great job here as we're just about 15 minutes in. And we're just seeing that now the field's starting to separate, though. So look at that truck way in the back. You saw it get bounce off the wall like we talked about. But look how much separation there is. Now there's a truck in the back. That is the one. That's Young, I believe. And there's your first caution. I spoke it into existence.
It'll happen that way, and it was a struggle for Warren Young. That truck had started back into the number 34 spot, already had some damage from earlier in the race, which may have been the reason why that truck was slow and off the pace, or could have been a byproduct of it. I believe he got that rear end damage on the opening lap of this race at a checkup, and you'll see all on his own. We've seen a couple cars get loose in turn one. The leaders have gotten a little bit squirrely. That thing just kept going around and around, and I think he kept it off the inside wall, but opted to take the tow to pit road. I would suspect that Warren Young's night may be done based on that decision.
Yeah, I would think that may be the case. If not, it's just going to be a long, long tow for Young. And just look at this. I mean, just wow. I mean, you see how the wheel was reacting there, just had a hard time, just never really got a hold of it, and away it went. Well, for the first time in Season 2, we're not too far away from, I would assume, our first round of pit stops. And I would say probably for everybody, 4 tires and gas. I know some drivers talked about this week taking 2 tires at Pocono. I'm never a fan of 2 tires, but, some people might be.
Yeah, we'll see if it's too early to play the strategy game or what the decision for the collective is going to be. Again, you are going to have plenty of opportunities to make decisions and decide if this is when you want to make your move. Again, it is challenging when you use the timed race format. There is no set race distance. Now, you can ballpark it pretty good, but there's no guarantee on what that number is going to be. Let's see what the leaders do. Top 2 are peeling down to the pit lane entry, and it looks like everybody will follow suit. So with 13 laps on the tires, that's enough for service. Now the question is, are they going for 2 or 4? Yeah, 1 truck at least stayed out.
It was Burnt who stayed.
He'll stay out, so that's a lead lap truck. He's going to cycle through to the race lead. Meanwhile, Mark Kalin drives all the way down pit road into pit stall number 1. Right side's up on the Solpec Racing F-150, still on the box. Left side's going to go up as well. Maybe behind him, though, Robert Barney's awfully efficient. Does anybody win the race off of pit road? Drag race to the stripe, 3 wide off. Did Mark Kalin get them? Yes, he did. Wow. That all courtesy of that number 1 pit stall, Derrick, because he got to the stripe first. If they were racing up to pit road speed, probably would have been off 3rd. So that pole position pays dividends for Mr. Mark Kalin. It is going to be good enough at the moment for 2nd on track, because that lone driver who decided to stay out, Zachary Burnt, behind the pace car as your new race leader.
Yeah, I'm curious about this call, and if Zach maybe just curious if he's going to, wow, look, that's your battle. You talked about that's from a great pit exit line shot from one of our cameras, but I'm curious if Burnt's committed to this. I'm curious if maybe he's going to rethink it. I mean, I think pits are going to close. I don't think he's going to have time to rethink it, honestly. So he's going to claim the point for leading a lap and having a good time here. But I think, Evan, while we're under caution, let's go ahead and take a look back at the sights of our last race 2 weeks ago, our Series 1 finale at Michigan. A beautiful race. See all the cars lined up here on pit road. And Mr. Hedge will provide awesome imagery of the sights of that race. See him going 2 wide down the straight. Well, I'll tell you what, at Mr. Hedge Sim Racing is full of unforgettable moments. And Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography can help you capture them all. From first wins to fresh liveries, heck, even the season championships. Moments you'll never forget. Mr. Hedge turns virtual racing into memories worth sharing. They're clean, sharp, and made for sim racers. So go visit mrhedge.co.uk to get the best moments in focus. Thank you, Mr. Hedge, for helping sponsor Season 2 of the Premier Sim Racing SimGamingExpo Truck Series. Man, look at those images, Evan. I we're always just impressed by the quality, the definition, and boy, you got to think for James O'Brien, who won that race. Remember, this next picture is going to be him parked up in the victory circle at Michigan. One of the few tracks left on the iRacing service where you can go do that still. That's got to be a cool moment to have that kind of picture.
Yeah, I'm always impressed. Some of these screenshots these days, you kind of have. I mean, if I wasn't on the sim so frequently, you might be able to convince me that some of these were real photos. And I'll give a tip of the hat too, as somebody who is a wannabe photo editor. That I don't know if it was a preset that he had designed, but the that kind of color palette that those photos were edited in looked real nice as well. So big thanks to the folks over at Mr. Hedge. And well, here we go. The question was originally posed as, was it going to be 2 tires? Was it going to be 4? That was still part of the conversation. I believe Andrew Sharp may have been the only driver to go. Actually, he went fuel only, so that's even more interesting. But I think almost everybody else was on 4. So what can Zachary Burnt do as the control car, but on, we'll call them 15 lap older tires than everybody else in the field? It's the first restart of the night. Don't jump it if you're the truck on the outside. Green flag, back in the air, but a tire spin as it is a long run down to turn number 1.
Well, good news for the field. Where the tire spin happened wasn't the concerning point, right? Sometimes you get a driver who's been out there for 15 or so laps. You're concerned the guy who stayed out with tire spin and kind of caused trouble. That wasn't the case. But look at this. These new tires quickly are going to catch up to Burnt. So I'm hoping, or he's hoping rather, that at the end of the race he has one more set of tires than the rest of the field. But for now, he's going to get swallowed up in some 2, maybe 3 wide racing as we come around this track.
It's a good-looking Tropicana truck up on the outside, but for Zachary, there's not much that he and that TRD Pro Tundra are going to be able to do. Already drops back to the number 4 spot and hands things off to a rematch for the race lead. This time, Kalen on the bottom, and on the outside, it is Richard Regan Jr. Squeezied by 3 wide back there. That's a battle for, call it, 6th place on back. At the stripe, it's Regan in front, but now the side draft gives a late surge to Kalen on the inside.
Well, this feels familiar from season 1, doesn't it? Kalen, Regan, Kalen, down through the corners, battling different ways. Regan's going to take the up high line. He's going to get the momentum. Bradley Holly's going to give a push. Here's a truck. Oh, in the wall. That is one of the Adams, the 171, I believe. Nick Schwartz, I apologize. One of our tonight's race sponsors, Nick and Ted's Tricky Triangle. And Nick, that truck is done.
It's a tricky track, and there you go. You see he gets the black flag, required repairs. That truck destroyed is going to have to take the tow to pit road. That's going to be a significant time penalty, by the way, here at Pocono, right, based on distance from the pit lane entry. So he's going to take the tow to pit road if there is even anything left in that truck to contest, and we'll wind it back and take a second look to see what happened. That's about the worst spot you could hit the wall, but what happened? Well, to the outside, it's Zach Burnt, right? The slower truck. He catches him on the exit. I think that 48 machine, Derrick, not anticipating them to be 3 wide. That's Thomas Sink. He was just going to pull up in line like they were going to be 2 by 2, but Schwartz could not go high. The slow lap truck was there, and again, you could not find a worse wall to hit with that jettison.
No, you really couldn't. You're exactly 100% correct in that moment. Watch it again here. It's from Thomas Sink in the grinds machine. He's going to come up here. 3 wide's going to just barely tag the back of Nick's car, and around he goes hard in the wall. Eesh.
Pretty fortunate also that the way that thing, you can see there's the jet out right there off the exit of turn number 1. There's a second one on the right-hand side of your screen about halfway down the backstretch. We're talking pre-race about some iconic Pocono moments, and well, there's been some big hits on the backstretch. You think some of the challenges. Elliott Sadler had the engine ripped out of his Cup car once with those big hits. They've got safer barriers there now. This is a newer scan of the Pocono Raceway, but those angles are still not any better, and I think that could have been worse. I mean, it certainly destroyed that truck that got down into the inside wall, but I think I was worried about that truck coming back up, Derrick, and into other trucks. Fortunate that it stayed low, and unfortunately that is going to end the night for Nick Schwartz. He has gone to the garage. He has left the session, so his night is over.
Well, let's see if we can actually get a word here with Nick, one of tonight's race sponsors, the Nick and Ted's Tricky Triangle Extravaganza. Nick, that looked brutal. That was a hard hit to the inside wall.
Yeah, I think the engine went there, so I couldn't move the truck at all. It was pretty much a done day right when it hit.
So your perspective of that, you were racing 2 wide with Burnt, and then you probably never knew there was a truck coming to the inside and just kind of got surprised, right?
Well, no, I knew that Tom was there, but I thought he was behind me more. I mean, we knew with Burnt staying out and not taking tires, it was going to be kind of a hairy situation to get by him. I was just trying to leave him room on the top, and I think Tom, got a good run, and there was just nothing we could do.
All right, well, unfortunately, this likely is going to be your drop race for the season. Of course, next up, we go to Lime Rock next week. So how happy are you to be having these trucks at Lime Rock next week?
It'll be interesting. There won't be any cautions, so that'll be fun. It'll be a race of attrition, and hopefully we'll get a better finish there.
All right, Nick. Well, listen, thanks for sponsoring tonight's race. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, that is Nicholas Schwartz. So he said he just thought things were going to happen in a different order, so to speak. He thought maybe the truck's going to pull in behind him, just kind of got surprised. He just sounds a little... not maybe befuddled right now, Evan. I think he just is very surprised as anyone that truck is out of the race.
Yeah, it all happened so quickly too, and that's the unfortunate thing, right? Nobody really did anything too wrong there. It's just a matter of timing, right? Those three trucks met up at the same time, and he thinks, if I had just gotten clear, I would have been fine. If I had tucked in line behind the slower car on the no tires, I would have been fine. And you kind of second guess yourself, but. Just a recent deal, and one of the challenges that you get when you've got somebody who stays out after not having pitted with everybody else. To that point, though, more trucks down pit road this time through. That will include Zachary Burnt. So after staying out and trying to find some success from the front of the field, he will kind of give up on that call, come down to the pit lane. Now he's got slightly better tires than everybody else. But it is going to line him up all the way at the back of the field. So he's got some work to do. Still 37 trucks of the 39 who took to the green flag on track and still in this Nick and Ted's Tricky Triangle Extravaganza 190. Richard Regan has found himself out in front. This is, we compare this calendar to what we saw in season number 1. Very different blend of racetracks, but you mentioned it. We see ourselves at a familiar place, and that is Regan 1, Kalen 2, a battle renewed here in Season 2.
Yeah, battle renewed. We'll see. Maybe some of the new faces can get involved in that battle. Maybe some drivers who had a week to kind of catch their breath and reset, get involved in this battle. But you're right, we're kind of picking up, it feels like, where we left off. So it's Regan in first, Kalen in second, Barney in third, Holly in fourth, Sink in fifth. Your top 5 here, but... I'm a little surprised by the call to pit a second time. I imagine most of the drivers who pitted this time by Evan either is Burnt, who need to put tires on, or it's got to be drivers who have scrubbed the wall tonight and maybe has picked up some kind of residual damage from it, because the extra, quarter of a lap we did or so, that gas isn't going to matter. It's got to be about fixing this truck and making it feel better. I think is why most of those guys would have come down pit road again. By the way, Regan's picked the outside here, just for the note.
Yeah, so the leader chooses the outside. Again, restart procedure different for restarts than it is for the drop of the green flag. That 56 can decide when this race will restart anywhere in the restart zone. Once the green flag comes out at the exit of the restart zone, Mark Kalen can go if the 56 has yet to do so up on the outside. Just a tick under 50 minutes left to go here at Pocono. Green flag flies once more. It's a good jump for the outside by Regan choosing up top. It gives a big boost to Robert Barney. The 26 truck from fourth tries to leapfrog his way to second. Not going to be able to clear Kalen. They're side by side for P2.
What a great decision that was by Regan. Got in a massive run on the outside there. Down the front straight, and has already got a big run on Kalen, who's really stuck here. Couple cars way to the inside. The red and black car, I think that's, oh my gosh, a lot of cars down there. And they're all starting to now form back up. See, Adams was down there and a few others. So I suspect someone checked up out of that corner and just kind of surprised everyone. Hold on, caution's out again. There's a truck spinning up front, and I don't have a name on it yet. I apologize.
Steve Loving. Yeah, that 27 went around. Quick caution. We caught at least the tail end of it. I think it's going to end up being pretty minor damage from that angle. I don't really see anything on the nose of that ego, power beyond belief, Toyota. Maybe some slight cosmetic damage elsewhere, but I hesitate to call it a slow wreck. You see it there at 150 miles an hour, gets turned just a kiss to the inside wall. But I think he's going to be very fortunate damage-wise.
Yeah, I think there may be some contact in the back to help him around. Of course, that's a new paint scheme for Steve this season. Remember last season, Steve Loving rocked the old Microsoft Windows retro style paint scheme. So he's trying out a new paint scheme out this season. And, you know, listen, drivers are superstitious, Evan. Let's watch this replay first. He's right here in front of Ted Low and Dick. And the new driver, the 113, comes up. Flo Doms, I believe it is, in the 113, and it's got the back end of him. But I was going to say, you know, Evan, drivers are just superstitious. We're weird creatures in that way. And if you run a new paint scheme and you get wrecked, you may never see that paint scheme again. That may be a one and done for Steve Loving right there. He may say, hey, I got wrecked in that scheme. I'm good. Also,
I know it is it's the color palette for
right.
Ego, which is the sponsor on that truck. But is there not some sort of racer superstition around green race cars, or am I just manufacturing that? I think that's a thing. Of all of the superstitions, for whatever reason, I always thought green was one of the superstitious colors. There's plenty of it in the field. I don't subscribe to it. My number on the sim is 13, so that's how I feel about jinxes.
All right.
But maybe blame that one on the green.
Fair enough. Well, let's find out. Let's ask Steve Loving. Welcome into the Green Flag TV broadcast booth. Steve, Evan's asking if there's any kind of driver superstition around using the color green on your paint scheme. Do you have any superstitions?
No. So far, it seems to be the fastest path, the 5th to 37th.
Well, maybe not the path you want to take. Obviously, a new paint scheme this season. You've ditched the Windows look for this new Ego scheme, but so obviously it looked like you kind of got sandwiched there between Low and Dick and one of the newer drivers in the 113. What was your perspective of what happened?
Well, Ted was really throwing it, so it looked like he was drifting up, and I let off a little bit to give him space so I wouldn't hook his right rear and put him nose first in the wall and take us both out. Then the guy behind us, I guess, clipped me somehow. So I was trying to play it safe and end up getting the brunt end of it.
All right. Well, is this a look all season? Is this a new paint scheme, or are we going back to Windows, or what's going on here?
This will be season 2.
Season 2. All right. Well, listen. Well, hopefully you'll get your way back to the front. We'll talk to you later. Good luck the rest of the race.
Thanks a lot.
All right. That's Steve, driver of the 27. Of course, these longer pace laps here, Evan, they last for about 9 hours or so. Gives us a chance to talk to some of these drivers in their car.
Yeah, that's a generous estimation. I remember, and these, by the way, are faster pace laps than they used to be at Pocono on the sim. You see Richard Regan doing a little bit of tire warming just to keep himself entertained. I'm pretty sure back about 7 years ago, the pace laps here at Pocono used to be one additional lap.
Yep.
And there were points where if it was a NASCAR broadcast that I was working in, we had a caution, it would legitimately push close to 10 full minutes, which may have been super realistic because it seems like a lot of cautions in the real world take a long time.
And also the pace speed here has been increased to 75 miles an hour for the iRacing pace car. I feel like that wasn't always the speed either. I think they increased it as well. So yeah, so these have gotten faster as long as they feel. Last time by, 2 minutes on the mark for most of the field, by the way. So think about that. We're going to 10 miles an hour faster, 1 lap shorter, and we could do driver interviews. We could probably open a cooking show under caution. We could, we could do a lot of things here under one of these cautions. Hopefully no more of them. We've had 3 here very quickly. We had a very quick, very clean opening, 13, 14 minutes, and now we're 3 back-to-back yellows here. Yeah,
and I'll say that it does give us the chance to talk to the drivers. We appreciate them being willing to talk with us. It's good to get their insights. Although, if we only talk to the people who get in incidents, they may not want to talk to us. So if we get another long yellow, Derrick, maybe we'll task you with finding somebody who is not fresh off of an accident, just to keep our street cred, in a positive direction, because we don't want to be resented by the driver field as we continue checking out some of the driver cams. There's a first look on Miss Zachary Williams.
But I gotta say, Evan, we can come back to this talk. the type of streamers like Zachary's who has the microphones right in front of their face, I respect it. I know it's a thing. I can't race like that. That's one of those driver preferences, right? It just, I don't know. That microphone right in front of my face.
I wonder if it's like
blocks my eye line.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like the arrow screen, right? Like in the IndyCar,
Yeah.
like if it's
That's a
it's
good point, the
dead
halo.
center.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's dead center, then you kind of block it out.
around it.
I don't have a headset mic, so I have to race with the big boom mic for broadcasting. That is very inconvenient. But that's either worse or it's so close that it's less bad. But
Yeah.
Zachary Williams in 27th spot. He's got a little bit of work to do. We'll see what he can shake out of this one. Meanwhile, go up front, green flag back in the air as we get up through the gears. Looks pretty clean from his perspective in the midfield. Again, a mammoth run all the way down to turn number 1. They're going to get up to 170 miles an hour already as they dive into the corner. Regan clear for the lead. Looks like most of the field 2 by 2.
Yeah, pretty good run up front here. You see a little bit of a gap here between Regan and Kalen. And Regan already, I'm not sure if that was a purposeful serpentining or if that was just kind of him getting the truck back under him, but a little bit right there. But now a challenge from Bradley Holly on the bottom. He's now going to try to get around the field. But again, that high lane seems to be the dominant one here around Pocono.
You're able to carry that speed through the corner. Of course, turn number 1's got the most banking to be talked about. Turn number 2, the tunnel turn, the tightest. This turn 3's got the least, so a little bit harder, but carrying speed out of that corner may be the most important exit on this racetrack because, again, you're carrying your speed all the way down this long straightaway. Maybe Robert Barney didn't carry enough speed. Bradley Holly tried to go to the inside. It can't make anything happen, so there is no battle for third.
Caution.
And now caution trouble behind the leaders. They maybe still be reckoned. Sideways in front of the field, it's Blaine Adams who goes around.
Wow. Right? Sideways in the middle of the field. That's obviously a caution here. We'll wait and see what maybe happened to assist that or if anyone kind of helped him get around. But there we go. Caution number 4 in this race. So we'll wait and see what happens to Adams. We'll see if anyone pits. Kind of go through the procedure here as this clock is ticking away. Watch it. Oh, that's going to be... Is that Evan Williams in the black and purple? That's one of those new paint schemes. Yeah, it's Evan Williams, I believe. Oh, boy. Wow. That was Watson on the inside, and I didn't get the black and red truck on the outside, but they somehow split him and didn't make contact. That was scary to watch in the replay, Evan.
Yeah, that was 2 big saves, and I think that's just bad timing. I think Blaine Adams is on the outside lane. It was Zachary Williams, the challenger. I think he was trying to lunge to get up
Watch
to
this.
the inside of Blaine. There's first save. Right?
Oh.
Caution's out, and then boom, another one. I thought for sure that number 32 truck was going to be on a shish kebab in the center of turn number 1, and somehow the 9, a Jacob Watson, splits low. The 55, a Karsten Quint, splits high. And minus the punt and maybe some paint off of the left rear quarter panel from the initial contact, somehow that truck is still in one piece.
Yeah, that's... Oh, boy. Luckily for Watson and Quinn says an old analogy, you should probably go buy a lottery ticket or whatever you want to, go play a hand of poker or whatever you got. Because that was a lot of luck that they both avoided just T-boning that 32 truck. That was wild. Well, let's see a different replay of this. Let's watch a point of view here and see if we can. No, I guess not. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I'm getting info in my ears and being confused. Well, you tasked me with finding an interview of someone who is not upset.
Yes.
Well, let's see here. The obvious one is Richard Regan. We talked to him a lot. Let's go focus on... Oh, yeah. Let's focus on Jeff Evans.
No
Let's bring
pressure.
Jeff
You're
Evans
on the
here.
spot.
I know. I had time to think about it. All right, let's bring the driver of the 51, Jeff Evans. Welcome into the Green Flag TV broadcast booth. Jeff, well, we started this thing pretty clean, and now it's just kind of a little chaotic.
Yeah. It's been interesting. Just kind of, just playing follow leader here. And I mean, I've seen a couple of things happen, but it seems like most of it's going on just directly behind me. So it's been an interesting couple of laps here.
So if it's all directly behind you, maybe you're the bad luck charm.
It's perfectly fine. Bad luck for them.
Bad luck
so
for
far.
them. Yeah, right. Well, I wanted to bring you up and let you talk a little bit. You do the team paints for your team. Obviously, you guys are all carrying a bit of this rainbow hue. for the paints, and so these is not a one-off thing. You guys are going to continue this for a couple weeks, and maybe even debut some new paints, right?
Yeah, with it being Pride Month, we want to put some accents on the car. So a bunch of us have the roll bars, some number accents, some stripes, just small subtle details. And then yeah, for Daytona, we're gonna roll it out a couple bigger paint schemes. Be a little more eye-catching.
So I know Evan's not going to be here. He'll be busy with real life stuff. Boo him. But rumor has it, Evan, there's unicorns appearing in the Daytona race.
Yes, there's going to be at least one unicorn truck out there for sure.
All right,
I'll
Jeff,
be tuned in. I'll be tuned in from afar because now I've got to see it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's a couple unicorns on the one truck, and definitely will be some eye-catching paint schemes for sure. So,
all right, buddy. Well, we'll let you get back down with your team and kind of figure this out. Good luck the rest of the race.
thank you very much, guys.
All right, that's Jeff Evans, driver number 51. Well, oh,
There you
okay.
go. There's the in-sim POV of what it's like to have the mic in your face.
It is like the IndyCar
Exact
halo.
results
kind of
may
think of it.
vary.
Yeah. There you go. That's what Zach Williams sees. Probably
It's not
a
far
little
off.
better. Well, there you go. You got an interview with a little bit happier tone to it. We talked to someone who wasn't involved in a wreck. Jeff Evans in a pretty positive mood. Says all the works are happening behind him. He sounded okay with that.
Yeah, that seems to be the key. Most of the wrecks, there's been a couple that started inside of the top 10. You think the big wreck off of turn number 1, I think the truck that was involved in that was in 8th position at the moment of the incident. But again, that is that's how important qualifying is. And that's not just a Pocono thing. I think that applies to everywhere. Is the law of averages would suggest less wrecks going to happen inside of the top 10 than behind. Track position important. Big fields. We're used to seeing jam-packed fields in this SimGamingExpo Truck Series. A lot of drivers enthusiastic to be participating in Premier Sim Racing. So track position's big, and it is allowing those drivers up front to stay ahead of all of the chaos. But I will say, I mentioned it was race number 1. Drivers were pretty cordial on the radio. It's easy for the guys up front to kind of kick their feet back. These long yellows take a lot of time off the board. So that's all good news for the trucks up front. If you're mid-pack, though, if you're somebody who pitted on one of these recent yellows, you want to get some advantage out of some fresh tires, you're getting frustrated. So we'll see how the temperature of the field varies if this race continues to have a lot of restarts.
Hey, speaking of varies, Richard Regan is now chosen the inside for this restart, by the way. I just want to point that out. And maybe he's going to kind of do his own little science experiment, see which one works better. But last time he was on the outside. This time he's going to restart on the inside. So very curious to see as we come through turn number 3 here. And you're right, these are long pace laps. And something that we would talk with our next driver about if we have another interview is how you keep focused, how you keep kind of sane, for lack of better words, under yellow. That's a hard thing to do at Pocono with those 2-minute pace laps.
And we saw that when he started on the outside, it helped the truck in 4th. Does this give a benefit to Robert Barty in the 26? Yes, it does. Green flag flies. Not a good start for the 62 of Kalen up top. Instead, Barney, trying to go from 3rd to 2nd, is almost all the way clear of Kalen down to turn 1. But Kalen gets a bit of a shove from Holly. A little bit too deep, though, into turn number 1. Can the 26 clear? No, he can't. Kalen fighting back for 2nd.
And as fun as that battle up front is, look at this deep in the field. 2, 3, I think I saw them 4 wide at one point in turn 1. They're going to be 3 wide in the tunnel turn if they don't back out. That is not how the tunnel turn works. You saw the 12 back out. That's James Morgan in that black and red truck up top. I'm glad they backed out there, Evan, because that's not a comfortable spot in turn 2 to be 3 wide. Now, this turn you said has the least amount of banking. To me, this is the slowest turn. This is the one that takes forever to get through as a driver. It feels like turn 3 lasts forever for some reason.
It is I think the widest turn radius as well of all of the 3. And because it has the least amount of banking, I bet it feels longer than it is in actuality because you're just waiting to be able to put full throttle down and point and steer that thing off of the corner. Looking off of the back of Mark Kalen, who was able to get 2nd place back in the end. So Barney stays 3rd. That's the black and white Toyota behind. Bradley Holly playing peekaboo. There's the teal nose of his truck looking to the bottom. Doesn't make a move. Forget about 3 wide. Even too wide, ill-advised down there in the tunnel turn.
Yeah, and think about it. In the way I always reference is, you get nervous when people go too wide during the Indy 500. Well, look at they're 3 wide through these corners, and especially turn 2. If you can't go too wide at Indy 500, you probably shouldn't be going too wide in turn 2 at Pocono. That's where that corner is from. But they've worked this out here, and that black and red machine, that 12, always seems to be in the middle of these 3 wide battles.
Yeah, sometimes it's one of those nights where you feel like you just can't get away from it, and it is a true hornet's nest back here in traffic. That's the green 42, Mike Toomer Jr. in the bottom. He gets a little bit sideways. The 12 of Morgan passes. They'll go 3 wide as Evan Williams and Nick Seraph pass on the outside. So a couple more spots lost there, and that 42 truck struggling to build some speed back up as they go to the tunnel turn, make it another spot lost. That was the next truck on through, and Brandon Walter making the pass. Zachary Burnt follows also.
Yep, there's the 816 moving on through, one of our brand new trucks this season. And that is Nicholas Acosta. He would have made the pass. So, boy, it just shows you once. Oh, there's Acosta in the wall hit way to the inside. I told you all night long, those walls it's so easy to hit them for some reason. It's just, look at how wide this front straight is, Evan. It's like, 9 lanes it feels like. And somehow you still find the wall. Acosta, well, slow here. And maybe just trying to get his bearings back together back in turn 1.
Yeah, sometimes it can take several quarters, even a lap and a half plus, to kind of get your bearings back. And it was a lot of spots lost for Mike Toomer Jr. Still going the wrong way. Going to get split 3 wide with the 89 machine. That's Zachary Williams on the bottom. He finds his way up top. They go 3 wide again in the tunnel turn, 4 wide in that battle. Look at this. Something's going to have to give. Into turn 3, the driver who says no thanks is Zach Williams. That black and purple truck bails. Big winner in all of that, the KFC Toyota of Warren Young, who gets wholesale passes.
Yeah, 32. Brett Adams also sort of backed out of that. That was that was like you're playing that proverbial game of chicken, right? Who wants to, turn first or break first or whatever you want to call it. That was a wild moment there. So now passing is the 27 of Steve Loving. We saw him go around earlier. He's now passing Mike Toomer Jr. Evan, something about this track, and I don't know what it is. This is a track that everyone seems to love it for different reasons, right? But this is a track that it feels like you're great at or you're not, right? There are certain drivers who love this place, come in here, they excel at it, they have a great time. And there's some drivers who just never quite comprehend this track, whether it be in iRacing, whether it be back to some of the older NASCAR video games, such like NASCAR Thunder or different models of NASCAR games. Some drivers just never really get a hold of this track. This is one of those tracks that really kind of exposes your pace a little bit,
Yeah, this is not a, hey, let's jump into quick hosted session. Oh, trouble!
Hold on, Brandon Walter.
43!
That's 43,
into the inside wall. Huge accident for Matt Scherf, and the caution is out.
Boy. Yeah, I thought it was Walter from the blue color on the truck, and I saw the 43 and I was, nope, had the wrong car there, but boy, that's going to be another assisted spin here. We're just coming off of NHL playoff season where you guys score goals and assists. Well, this is going to be an assist here to the 23. It's going to get up under the back end of the 43 and goal.
That thing gets airborne because that apron drops off of the racing surface. So that might have been all 4 tires in the air. I wonder if we can get a head-on shot of that. To me, that almost looked like it was Scherf who came down. And
maybe
the only
so.
thing I can think of is, and maybe they kind of met, but Scherf, I think, was trying to follow the 2 of Steve Baker, right? Baker and Gagnon were side by side in front of those guys, and he was trying to get the draft off of one of them. Here's the look off of the back of the 2. I think he's trying to chase the draft, and I think he kind of comes down to me in relation to those white hash marks. Not a lot, but I think he was chasing the draft of the truck up the road and did crowd Brett Adams.
Yeah, I'll back off a little bit. I'm not sure. My first instinct was that it was kind of the Adams coming up, but you're right. That view from the back of the 2 makes it feel different. Almost more, I like the phrase you had of a meeting in the middle. Some wrecks you have, it's easy to say who's at fault, who wrecked who, who caused the wreck, whatever you want to say it as. But sometimes you have a wreck like that where the race stewards tonight will have to have a few looks at that, a few looks at the inputs and the wheels and everything to determine what happened where and when and how in that moment. Well, let's continue this trend of driver interview. I have one in mind this time. I'm not going to stall for 46 minutes. Let's go and bring the truck that we've seen moving up and down the field, been involved in, it just feels like every 3-wide battle tonight. James Morgan, can you just not avoid 3-wide battles at this track?
No, absolutely cannot. We're just trying to bide our time a little bit here and work our way forward as soon as we can. Getting down to go time here toward the end, though, especially with these cautions. Hopefully we can get a long green flag run to the end here, though.
So right now, here we sit here with about 28 minutes left to go. See trucks coming down pit road, so I'm assuming you're one of those trucks. This probably is your last pit stop of the night, right?
Yes. Yep, I believe we are good to go from here.
All right, we're going to give you a second to pause here. I don't want to mess up your spotter counts. Being a team owner, I should probably, let you focus. All right, so 4 tires, gas here. Obviously the plan. Any reason you'd ever take 2 tires here?
I don't really think so. I think we wear the lefts enough to where it's not worth it, especially with the temperature difference and everything in the tires. So yeah, I don't think that it's worth it at any point, really.
All right, well, listen, good luck the rest of the night. Hopefully you can keep yourself out of the 3-wide battles, and we'll see if we can work your way up front.
Yeah, 10-4.
All right, that is part of Tabula Rasa Esports. That is James Morgan. We'll put him back down with his teammates so they can communicate. And he just sounds like he knows that frustration, Evan. He just said, no, there's no way I can avoid this. He just sort of knew. And look at this. There's that thing you talked about, but real quick, by the way. There's that car bouncing up, getting some air off that wall, and a hard hit. Maybe the hardest one we've seen all night so far from the 43.
Yeah, that's a big hit. We've seen a couple of them. Pocono known for that, and I think that's good news. You talk about kind of accepting, can you get away from the 3-wide? No. That is advancing all the way through is under the caution.
But
that was the 12 of James Morgan who just
I
spun.
had nothing to do with that.
And that was on his own. Very Scott McLaughlin-esque, if you will. There was nobody else in that frame, and he just lost it.
There's commentator's curse, and then there's that. And I don't even know what that even was. I honestly was staring at timing and scoring for a second to kind of prep what I want to talk about in a second, and kind of missed this whole thing.
I thought it was a replay. It took my brain to figure out that was live also.
Kind of want to bring him back. Should we just bring him back?
That's on you then. That's on you.
I'm going to push my luck. I'm just going to do this real quick here.
Oh, boy. I'm sitting out for this one. Let's see the onboard.
James Morgan, there's commentator's curse. And then there's whatever the hell that was. What did you just do there, buddy?
I absolutely reached up to adjust my relative back from when I was on tires and into first gear.
All right. So a little bit of spin. You're okay. The truck's okay.
Yeah, truck is fine. Hopefully the tires are okay after that. That's a little embarrassing.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to put you back down with your team. Don't do it again.
10-4.
All right. Well, good luck. We'll put you back down with his teammates. Wow, that was a moment right there.
Could have been worse. I've seen. I think the RPMs that you're doing under yellow make it not likely, but there's times where you money shift, you shift down instead of up. That was just an unintentional shift altogether. But sometimes if you drop a shift when you're at speed that's too high, you could blow the engine and your night could be done. So I think the truck spinning out was best case scenario there.
Yep, said he was just kind of trying to get his iRacing settings reset, some of the information, the black boxes, if you will, and just not paying attention. So luckily he's lined back up. Probably got a spot back from iRacing since it was under yellow. So he'll be lined up here. Let's take a look at your top 5 quick. It's Loving, Quince, Regan, Kalen, Barney, and Lowendick, your top 6 here. So a couple new names up front, Evan.
Yeah, some new drivers cycling through to the front of the field. For Steve Loving and Karsten Quint, they do not pit on this most recent cycle. So they're both out there with about 10 laps on their tires. Everybody else, Richard Regan Jr. and company from a third on back, going to be on fresh Goodyear Wranglers. Let's do it again with 23 minutes left to go in Pocono. Slow start for the outside. Quint did not get going. Regan pushing Steve Loving through the gears. Now looking to the inside for the race lead.
Oh, look at him now digging, throw away to the bottom, and then both of those cars sided better. That was Bradley Holly in the back in that teal-colored car we saw him earlier. And everyone's just going to back out and say too wide here, up out of the corner. Everyone's good. No hits to the wall, wrecking on the bottom. Big 2 cars now wrecking on the bottom. And caution's out.
Hey, James O'Brien, Nick Seraph around, so 2 drivers in that one. Quick caution comes back out. I didn't see any huge hits in that one. The 38 machine of O'Brien, you can see visibly the front end damage on his Toyota, not seeing similar damage on Seraph's machine. So James O'Brien getting the worst of it, and I think O'Brien was the innocent victim. We'll let the replay tell the tale. Yeah, there it is. That was on his own. Seraph on cold tires, just got loose off of turn number 1, and unfortunately just swept up the 38 truck on the bottom, who could not get away.
Well, I'll tell you that. Now we're getting to the point in the race, Evan, where this is becoming a little less fun. It's becoming a little frustrating. We're kind of getting a little bit of frustration out of the drivers. Kind of odd to say, right? Oh, yeah. There it is. But, I mean, it kind of get to that point now where it's becoming a little less fun. You're hearing some of the frustration from some of the drivers. You're hearing a little bit of kind of chatter, if you will, to put it nicely. Some words being exchanged. And now we're having enough pace laps in, and some drivers are just kind of over it, I think.
Yeah, and again, those frustrations I mentioned, in the midfield, drivers are going to get more and more frustrated just because this is a timed race, right? So I'm just going to make up some math for the sake of this example, right? But let's say there's, 20 laps to go in a race. Well, if there's 20 laps to go, but you get a caution, you're going to burn, right, maybe 4 of those laps, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll call it a fifth of that time is lost under the caution flag, right? A fifth of the laps remaining are gone. Well, if you've got 20 minutes left in a race, but a caution flag is going to take 6, 7, 8 minutes on the higher end, right? That's a higher percentage of opportunity lost. I think that's where the frustration comes in. Again, this timed format works very good in some facets, and then if you're a truck in the midfield wanting to get through the field, it doesn't work good for you when you get a lot of yellows, and that's where I think it comes from. I think it'd be frustrating to pace around any track, right? Pocono is a long one, but again, you're just watching that time tick down, tick down, tick down, and you're getting antsy. You want to get up there. You can't do anything, obviously, under the yellow.
The only person who's stoked about these cautions is that black and yellow truck up on the top right. That's Trace Paderni. Remember, he had a power outage at the beginning of this race, so he dropped from the race, had to wait for power to come back. I believe after this lucky dog right here, Evan, I'm waiting for timings for him to update. I think he's back to 1 lap down. So if there's only one person stoked about these cautions, it's the driver who's benefiting. I mean, heck, in his point of view, he's 1 to 2 cautions away from being back on the lead lap after losing his power. So that's the only person I could think of who must be happy.
Well, again, if it's bad for somebody, it has to be good for somebody else. I don't know if that's the exact definition of the law of averages, but anything that benefits somebody is not helping somebody else out and vice versa. So someone's going to be taking advantage, and there's been a couple trucks we mentioned, hey, they're going to need some caution flags. You mentioned James O'Brien back on the lead lap after the penalty he had early. He has wanted some yellows as well to kind of get some track position. I just haven't seen that out of the team hype Toyota. He's back down pit road again for some continued repairs, so his night kind of hasn't come full circle. But while we have this chance under the caution flag, let's do our first of the season for the Miracle Flow team update, and we will start with none other than the driver of the number 184 machine, Mr. Bradley Holly, has been part of the conversation for much of this race. He started in 5th. He rides P6, so it has been a pretty stable night for that man right there. He's also got better tires than 2 of the 5 trucks ahead of him, so that's a truck that could be in contention for a top 3 tonight.
Yeah, good run for Holly up here up front where he was all last season. See if he continues that. We'll move back to the field. I believe back to P13 is next. That's where we'll find Jeff Evans. We spoke with him earlier, and he's having a pretty good night. So he's keeping in front of all the wrecks, having a solid run here. And Jeff had a pretty great ending to the season, so wants to build on that trend in this 51. See the rainbow-colored poles on the truck. He talked about the supports earlier, so him and his team getting ready and supporting Pride Month in their own way. Then we'll move back through the field to find your next Miracle Flow driver. And Evan, I believe that's going to be the 41.
It is. Doug Evans has been very quiet tonight. This truck runs exactly where it started. That is in the number 30 position. So not a great night for the Miracle Flow group. It's kind of hot or cold, right? Two trucks running in good positions. And then you got Doug back here in the number 30 spot. And, of course, the other driver in the contingent with Nick Schwartz, 39th position and out of this race. So feast or famine for the Miracle Flow team. Two trucks in a good position, and two of them that are going to want a little bit more out of this race. Miracle Flow, we'll say a big thanks to them for being one of the partners for our shows. Miracle Flow is more than hair care. It's built for the bold. Founded in Rochester, New York in 2015, Miracle Flow is created to elevate both your look and your lifestyle. Made in the USA and crafted for real performance, it's trusted by those who show up ready, whether it's game time or a night out. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just results. Miracle Flow, because your flow isn't just style, it's a statement. Big thanks to them for being a part of tonight's coverage. Well, here we go. It's now, I think we're calling them all late race restarts inside of 20 minutes to go at Pocono. Varying strategy, not a lot of green flag runs. Restarts are going to be critical. Does anybody have something for Richard Regan Jr., who's going to control from the inside? A green flag back in the air.
You see a shot here from the grandstands of Pocono and all the field, everyone involved. Zachary Burnt, black flag there, by the way. Let's see if we can get a word later on what that's going to be about. And see if we can follow up on that. But right now it's Regan up front, leading this field around. There he is, coming out of turn number 1. He's got Barney behind him, Mark Kalin, and others.
Yeah, look at some of those trucks hitting a little bit tail happy too as they come off of turn number 1. The field is all going to make their way down into the tunnel turn. It's Regan 1, Barney 2, Kalin 3. Steve Loving still trying to hang on the older tires. He's in 4th, dropping some more. 3 wide for a moment into the corner. Driver on the bottom bailed out of that one. They'll go back down to 2 by 2 as they come off of turn number 3.
And right now, I got to think in my head, you use the term late race restart, and you're right. I mean, we're only about 2 cautions away from this race being over, by the way. So if you're a driver right now, you can't sit back. You can't be patient. You've got to just go and push everything you have, throw it in the corners, slam on the pedals, whatever you got to do to make a pass here, because this race is quickly coming to an end.
And even under green flag conditions, you're not getting much more than a lap in every single minute. 55-second lap time the last time through. That pace will improve maybe a little bit now with a first full flying lap, but as the tires wear, it ain't going to get much better. You're on board there with Colton Lane. You can see that throttle chase, which is more of an average of the throttle on and off time, getting out of the gas as they hit into the tunnel turn. And now back down here in turn number 3. Has to grab a little bit of brake, and then back onto the throttle right on that yellow line as he comes off of the corner. Colton Lane's been a top 10 truck all night. Is there any improvement in that machine? Bradley Hawley, I mentioned he had 2 trucks ahead of him that were on older tires. He has passed them both. He is up to P4. Can he get a top 3 out of this one as he sets his sights on Kalin?
Well, speaking of setting sights, see that on top of your screen a second ago, Robert Barney is setting his sights because that was the fastest lap of the race. Robert Barney just threw down 53.953, so that was less than a 1/10 of a second faster than Richard Regan, but it shows he is trying to eke his way towards the front of this field, down through this corner, can come around very quickly through the tunnel turn in turn number 2, and Barney is pushing with everything he has to make this work. See a couple passes happening back through the field. There's Thomas Sink on the bottom. There's Kyle Dewey on the bottom. That's Dewey on the bottom. I think of Doug Rice there on the outside in that black and blue machine. So a few different passes still happening here across this track.
Yeah, plenty of stuff going on, and a lot of these drivers really enjoying their first opportunities to try to get some green flag laps in a little while, and they want to take advantage of it. Big throw to the inside there for Kyle Dewey. Can he make it stick on the inside? Doug Rice, slow on exit, went a little bit too deep in the center. They're going to have to drag race to the tunnel turn. Maybe a slight advantage to Doug Rice up top. He gets a shove from Jeff Evans. Is it enough to get by the 33? No. Dewey's going to stay there on the bottom. Does he clear them almost into each other? I think in the end, the A&A truck is finally through.
Yeah, finally through. Here's James Morgan, by the way. He's now going to make his pass through on Nicholas Hunter. And he's trying the bottom of this corner. Whoa, way down to the rumble strip. He's going to have a problem coming up to the crack. When you get that far down, that track wants to throw you back up, and that's what happened to Morgan. Now Morgan again. Here, I've said this before. Morgan 3 wide. He's got Hunter on the outside. He's got the 113 of Flo Dobbs on the inside, and he backs out. Boy, look at that glare across the track, though.
Yeah, the sun's starting to set. We get into late afternoon, and this new refreshed version of the Pocono Raceway and one of iRacing's newest art updates looking good as you're on board with Flo Dobbs, front row seated, James Morgan going to the inside of Nicholas Hunter. This battle for 15th spot on track, and that number 113 can kind of pick and choose which lane. Parked it in the middle through the tunnel. Will go to the outside as they head off to 3. Problem is, if they're side by side in front of you, unless you're going to force the issue, there's no way around them. Big slide up on exit for the 12. That outside's going to be the place to be. Hunter is through.
Look at him contact in the back here. There was a little bit of beating and banging out of the corner. And that's Evan Williams in the back in that black and purple truck in the 89s. Up there battling hard. So again, now as we're just about to approach the 12-minute mark in this race, there's Brett Adams in 23. There's Trace Paderni coming down pit road. I'm guessing he should have been able to pit under Lucky Dog once he got the pass by Evan, but I guess he never did. So got back down to 1 lap down and only an 8-second stop. So he must have been trying some gas strategies to make that work. But the good news is with an 8-second stop, he may not get lapped here. If another caution comes out, maybe he'll still be in the lead lap, maybe not. Who knows?
And look at this battle. A lot going on. This is back towards the front of the field. There's Ted Lowendick in the number 13. Contact that time into the quarter panel of Steve Loving as they came off of the corner. It's a battle for 5th, 6th, and on back. These two trucks lead a gaggle of about 6 or 7 other competitors that are hot on their heels. Lowendick, the instigator. Is he going to be able to make the bottom work? That top side has carried the speed off the corner all night long. It's an advantage to the top, but just as I say that, Lowendick's going to get some drafting help as Thomas Sink gives him a shove.
Yeah, Tom Sink's going to give a nice little shove right there to the inside. It's Lowendick. Remember, Lowendick is probably of the one-back cars. Jeff Evans said they're all kind of running a subtle Pride theme in June before we get to our Pride race in July. I think Teddy's probably the most not subtle of the rainbow themes this week, but still beautiful to see that beautiful rainbow gradient across that truck. It's got Theodore Jr. in the back of the truck. It's got the gummy cluster. Doing pretty well here. Now we're down to 10 minutes to go. And he tried to get way to the bottom on Steve Loving, and it just felt like that move didn't work out the way he wanted it to.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of pressure on the drivers at the front of this because they've got a lot of other competitors who want a piece of the action. We mentioned Sink. How about the black 16? That's Dustin Bumgarner. Up to the outside, the red, white, and blue colors on the number 60 of Colton Lane. Even Kyle Dewey in the conversation. Matt Gagdon's there. A whole host of drivers. Lowendick clear for how long? Almost calamity as that 27 committed to the bottom but got sealed off.
Yeah, this battle's really starting to heat up here. Everyone now knows it's go time. Everyone knows we're getting closer and closer now to the point of no return. Earlier we talked about there being maybe a caution or 2 left. Now we're getting to the point where that's going to quickly become not a reality. So remember, the league has some rules built in place to do a 1-to-go format if we can get there, but you don't want to risk it. You don't want to leave the fight up to the judges, so to speak, in a boxing or a UFC term. Here, you don't want to leave the luck up to if we go green or not. Get every spot you can. And Colton Lane's now going to push up the track. Maybe not. I thought for sure him and Bumgarner were going to have a problem there, but Lane held onto that truck.
Just looking at all the trucks as they come off of the corner, several of them sideways using the wide backstretch to their advantage. Lowendick now ahead of this battle, wants to leave it in his rear view mirror, and if they keep fighting again, look, that's like 7-8 trucks all over each other. It's going to allow him to pull away. It's the 48 of Thomas Sink on the bottom, trying to get around the challenger up top, and Steve Loving, he's going to do it. Thomas Sink, who started top 5, continuing to crawl his way back up through the running order.
By the way, Sink, I want to mention on the driver's side of that car tonight, just above the window net, has the name John Hohall printed on that truck. It's one of his sergeants when he served in the military for Tom, being he, and the pronouns are important there. Unfortunately, that Sergeant John Hohall passed away May 30th. So Tom wanted to take a moment and, in his own way, honor one of his fellow servicemen. So he's put his name on the truck here at Pocono tonight.
It's great to see that. And look at that big moment. Something happened back there. That was Nick Byer, who got way out of shape off of turn 1, had some help, caught that truck. Again, dangerously close to the point where if we get a caution flag, this race may not have time to restart. There's a second look at the touch. Give credit to both of those drivers. After the initial contact, the driver who got into him checked up to let him save it. And then Byer had to do the hard work of catching that race car. It was a good piece of driving. There is action all throughout this field. But do not forget about the leaders, because it is not a comfortable lead for P1. A live look at the battle in the midfield, at a battle for the leaders in the bottom right-hand corner. Can those top trucks hang on? As on the bottom, Robert Barney needs this race to stay green as he challenges the race leader, Richard Regan.
And the problem that Barney and Regan are going to have here soon, Evan, is if they do get side by side, if they get battling through a corner, maybe 2 corners, then Holly, Kalen, and others are going to be back in that picture really quickly. So if you're Robert Barney, this needs to be a precision pass. You need to make the pass, get back in front of Regan. The more time you spend side by side, you're going to have a cluster like you do on the top of your screen. Look at the top of the screen now. These guys are racing hard. We're seeing a little bit more door banging, a little more leaning on one another. As time ticks away, so does the patience.
And you can see that onboard perspective from Regan on the bottom gave you a good look at the different lanes that Robert Barney is trying to work. There is some lap traffic up the road. Unsure if the leaders will get there in time and if they will be a factor in any way. Also, if these leaders start to fight side by side, Bradley Hawley is only 0.8 of a second back in third. Mark Kalen just 1 second behind them in fourth. So this could become as many as a 4-way battle for the race win. This time by 6 minutes to go into Pocono should put us at about 7 laps to go in this race. If it can stay green, Regan, the better lap there, he leads by 2 truck lengths now.
Yeah, that time by Regan just faster by hundredths of a second over Robert Barney. So this is just so close. And what's happening back through the field, this is back in 9th and 10th. This is Steve Baker, Dustin Bumgarner's back here. That's right in front of a couple other cars, and Steve Loving. And that's James O'Brien possibly there in the black and red machine. So lots of battles still to be decided up and down this field with about 5.5 minutes to go here. Very likely where they all run now is not going to be equivalent to where they all finish when all is said and done.
In every battle we look at, opportunities, drivers trying to make what they feel like might be their last passes of this race. Last-ditched effort to maximize points in race number 1 of a 10-week calendar. There will be a drop, but nobody wants to count on that out of the gate. You want to get the season started, build some momentum, and hope that maybe you could be the driver to try to take out the defending champion, Richard Regan, who has had a hot start to Season 2 so far tonight. Some drivers trying to get side by side. Tail end of that group right there, the 2 truck. Now on the outside, Steve Baker looking high, looking low. He's trying to do anything to make a move. Now he'll dive to the inside of Bumgarner. Ahead of them, Matt Gagnon steps at a line. He goes to the inside on Loving.
Yeah, look at this beautiful pass right here is attempted here. See Loving on the outside, getting past, maybe not. Loving got a good run up here. Remember, Loving won a race last season, walked away Season 1 with at least 1 race win. Would love in Season 2 to make that more than that if he could. Won the 3rd race last year, but his last few races last season, Evan, 11th, 12th, 10th, and 33rd. So if you're Steve Loving, you're hoping this season goes better than the end of last season.
New season, new opportunities. What are you going to do in the final 4 minutes of this season opener at Pocono? Checkered flag still hanging in the balance in the Nick and Ted's Tricky Triangle Extravaganza 190. And now Bradley Holly has caught the top 2 from third. So it is a 3-truck battle with only one being able to capture the checkered flag before this one is done. Second look at some trouble off of turn number 1 into the outside wall for a moment, but they stayed green, no incident further.
Well, that one truck, I guarantee he has something to worry about, because that's going to be hurt. That looked hard. Well, for a moment here, it looked like Bradley Holly had caught up to Robert Barney, but I feel like maybe they both now have dropped a bit off of Richard Regan. By the way, Bradley Holly finished P3 3 times last season for the Premier Sim Racing SimGamingExpo Truck Series. So hopefully he can find himself in victory lane. Finished third 3 times, finished second 3 times in season 1. Now it's Bumgarner, now it's Morgan, and they're battling pretty hard here.
Drivers starting to feel the old tires. 20-lap old tires. Are we going to continue to get away with these moments? A caution would end the race. So every moment that you are ahead of whatever battle you're a part of is so critical. How about some more 3 wide right here? It's Doug Rice on the bottom. Brett Adams in the middle. He gets pushed out of line as on the outside, Nicholas Hunter got both of them. He now goes to the inside of the 2. What a corner for Nicholas Hunter.
Wow, that was a scary moment between Rice and Adams back there. But look up front here, as you said, there's a pass happening. Now I feel like Robert Barney is closing in on Richard Regan. This is getting more and more intense. Now 2 minutes to go. Likely, I'd say probably only a couple more laps left. That was Trace Paderni up ahead. He will not be a factor in the last 2 minutes, so that lap car will not matter. It's purely Barney versus Regan.
And again, Bradley Holly's there, but short on time. His hope may only be either a battle between the 2 leaders or a mistake from one or the other to make up the difference of about a half a second in all of these battles through the rest of the field. This side-by-side fight for 13th and 14th with James Morgan and Dustin Bumgarner. All opportunities for somebody to make a mistake and for a late yellow to end this one early. Look at this. 2 by 2 by 2 lined them up like a restart in a battle for what's about 16th place on back. As up at the front of the field, looking at possibly 2 laps to go in this race. Still no changes.
Yeah, no changes right there. Hold caution's out. We're done. There's a smoke right ahead.
Turn 1, truck down in the grass. That is going to do it. And that is no pun intended for Kyle Dewey. It is beached in the grass. That caution is going to end this race. And what we saw, these trucks were slipping and sliding all over the place, Derrick. We hadn't had a long green flag run in a while. And on 25-lap old tires, that thing was gone the second it turned into the corner.
Yep, he just got down off the apron, down to that flat part of the banking and spun around this guy. I think he just got embarrassed and ashamed right there. You know, that's it. Right there is the flag, but that's going to be, I think, the white flag coming out from Barney. But for Kyle Dewey, that's unfortunate, Evan. That P10 run he was in, that was going to be a PSR career best for Kyle Dewey. Oh, boy. That looks maybe like that
wheel's not moving. That he might have had some sort of equipment
some kind
failure.
of hardware failure. Yeah.
Well, we already talked earlier about, you know, a power outage affected one of the other drivers. You know, just like a part could break on a real-world race car, parts can break, stuff could malfunction on these virtual trucks. And the way that truck just kind of measly spun to a stop is going to tell me that there was some sort of a hardware failure, and that's unfortunate, right? You're in this race for an hour and 12 minutes, hour and 13 minutes, right? And you just can't get the final 2 minutes out of it. And what is old is new again, and that is Richard Regan Jr. behind the pace car, going to be coasting to a race win here in the opener. Not that the race was not a challenge, but he will not have to worry about those last few moments and those last-ditched opportunities and chances for Barney, because this one's going to end right here.
Yeah, this is a great run by Richard all night long. You know, qualified outside the top 10, had to work his way through, and a great moment. See Paderni down pit road. Again, I don't understand why it's not really going to affect any results here, but wow. Well, for Richard Regan, this will be, I believe, his 7th win in PSR history, Evan. He's really racking them up pretty quickly here. He's got that graphic behind him, that green screen. He's got to get like a whole new graphic just for win stickers.
And he's
keeps
going to
us
start
up.
running out of room.
Yeah.
It's an impressive start to the season. The championship defense starts at Victory Lane. Regan, your race winner at the Pocono Raceway, starts off season 2 with success in the Nick and Ted's Tricky Triangle Extravaganza 190, and he has to take the long trip back around to celebrate. It is a familiar home for the 56.
Yep, now he gets to be released from the pace car, kind of due to his own pace. Brings that number 56 Stint Analyzer truck on around here because it celebrates. And it's a long way around. You get a lot of time to let those screams out, that energy out, kind of shaking in the fist. Whenever you celebrate, all the Discord chats, I'm sure, are lighting up, saying, hey, congrats. And gets to kind of soak it in here. Does Richard Regan Jr.
He'll have some drivers pull alongside to congratulate him. Mark Kalin going to pull alongside and give him some best wishes. And then he's going to come around and the celebration's going to be on as some drivers want to get back to pit road quicker than some others. But I mean, this is a driver that is well respected, rightfully so, for everything he's accomplished. And the fact that he has won more races than he hasn't over the course now of making 10 races, impressive stuff. And it's really a challenge. That's going to be the storyline all season long. As Richard Regan showed us what he had in season 1, is anybody else going to be able to step up to the plate and do anything about it?
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. A road course next week and a few different tracks. We'll see if anyone can challenge the driver of the 56. We're going to go burn it out here at Pocono, and it's going to celebrate, as I believe now it's time to take a look at our unofficial race results.
Yeah, let's see where they all finished in this one. Victory to the Regan Bogue Motorsports number 56 of Richard Regan Jr. and a good start for that Neon team in terms of the team points, because they'll have Matt Gagnon represented in there as well. The team championship going to be a storyline as well this year. Robert Barney comes home in second. Ed Bradley Hawley, the highest representative for Whataback Racing, who gets drivers in third and fifth, with Low and Dick just behind him. Mark Kalin comes home in the number 4 spot. Thomas Sink was in 6th. Matt Gagnon, I mentioned, 7th. Steve Loving, Colton Lane, Flo Doms, your top 10. Good showing for the 113.
Yeah, moving back to P11 for Jeff Evans with Dustin Bumgarner back in 12th. James Morgan finished P13 after that wild spin under yellow. Nick Hunter finished 14th with Brett Adams in P15. Then is Doug Rice, Evan Williams, James O'Brien, Andrew Sharp, and Brandon Walter rounding out your top 20.
21st is going to go to Steve Baker, Warren Young in 22nd, Stacy Hunter 23rd, Karsten Quint 24th, and Mike Toomer Jr. bouncing back a little bit from some challenges with the P25. Blade Adams 26th, Doug Evans 27th, Brian Tope 28th, Zach Williams 29th, and Nick Byer through P30.
Moving back to the last part of the field here, Nicholas Acosta is back in P30. Almost saw him hit the wall early, unfortunately. Jacob Watson, his teammate at Tabula Rossi Esports in 32nd, with Reese Bogue back in 33rd. Zachary Burnt and Trace Paderni round out your top 35. Trace, the first car lap down. And then Kyle Dewey, Nick Saraff, Matt Scherf, and Nicholas Schwartz unable to finish this race. And that's a look top to bottom at tonight's premier SimGamingExpo Truck Series unofficial results.
And as we head into post-race coverage, let's go to the Regan Bogue Motorsports post-race show, brought to you by our friends at Regan Bogue Motorsports. Speed is just the starting point. Success is built through discipline, focus, and development. At Regan Bogue Motorsports, their iRacing coaching is built to develop winners. Through one-on-one training, the focus is on the fundamentals that turn fast drivers into champions. Smart racecraft, disciplined decision-making, and pressure-proof performance. This isn't about quick fixes. It's about building a foundation for lasting success. Regan Bogue Motorsports, developed for wins, built for championships. And I think that's as fitting a segue as you'll get to talk with the man, Richard Regan Jr., Season 1 champion, is, I think, still celebrating. To my knowledge, Derek Watson, I don't see him quite available yet, so maybe I'll toss things off to you to see if we can... oh, there he is, right on cue. He's available as we get the cool shot of the burnouts. Let's talk with him now. Richard, obviously, success at the end. We know how Season 1 came to an end. You were able to secure that championship with a race to spare. And the question is, coming into this season, some new faces... They know that the benchmark is you. in that number 56 truck. I think it's a pretty well-deserved statement for him, and sounds like technical issues. So we're not going to have him, Derrick. I'll hand it off to you first. We'll get him eventually, folks. Let's go maybe to Robert Barney, P2 first.
Yeah, let's go ahead and catch up with Robert Barney while Richard's unavailable, and we'll talk with Robert. Robert, a P2 tonight. It looked like you did everything possible to run down Richard at the end of the race. You just couldn't quite close that gap.
Yeah, it was good because I was actually saving a little bit. I had a little bit for him there at the end, but fortunately we had finished under caution. I almost didn't make the race. Power supply went bad on the computer. Had to go to a backup.
So a lot of those technical gremlins really reached out tonight and grabbed some drivers. But for you, not only is this a great podium finish, it's your first podium finish. It's your best career finish in PSR. Before this, a P, I believe 8 was your best twice. So what's different this season? Is it just a track you love? Has there been more focus? Is there anything different this season you feel like that's caused you to have your first podium?
I'd have to say it's a little more focus. I tried to play a little conservative last season. I had the speed. I was running up front a lot, but I just couldn't finish the races. So now I've been working more with Rich, my teammate, try and get better and keep these top 5 finishes.
All right. Well, listen. Well, next week is Lime Rock, a road course, a very different style of track for these NASCAR trucks. What are your thoughts on next week's race?
That's going to be tough. I'm not the greatest at road courses, but I'll put some practice in and see if we can get up there.
Fair enough. Well, listen. Well, congrats on your first podium. Congrats on the P2, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Thanks for putting on a good show there.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you. That is Robert Barney. He finishes P2 into 26, and now I believe after that big introduction he got the first time, I think Evan Posocco has now caught up with our winner, Richard Regan Jr.
Yeah, that's right. We're with your race winner of tonight's Nick and Ted's Tricky Triangle Extravaganza 190. Richard, congratulations. It seems like new season, same results for you. I know this is the expectation, but really no better way I think you guys could have asked to kick off season 2 than putting it back in victory lane again.
Yeah, for sure. I think I got lucky here tonight. Just trying to be aggressive on those restarts early after we had those first pit stops. And I didn't really have the truck, like the fastest truck tonight. So I knew if I could just put myself in a decent spot that I'd be all right. And then unfortunately we had so many cautions that, it was a huge advantage to be the leader at that point because we couldn't do more than one lap for a while without a caution coming out. So that kind of sucks, especially because at the end of last season, we were starting to clean the league up a little bit, and it looks like it came back from season 1. So hopefully the races get cleaner as we go, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
You mentioned, there are some new faces to this series. There's going to be a bit of an adjustment period for them. But for you coming off of the championship, there's nothing that needs reformed to say, right? I mean, you're at the top of the mountain. Drivers are going to be trying to figure out what they can do to catch you. So when you're in that position, what can you do to not kind of, fall into a false sense of security that they're going to come easy and come often like they did last season? How do you kind of reaffirm that commitment to make sure that you guys have the best truck on any given night?
Just got to get a lot of seat time and prepare well. Everything about speed, especially in a fixed series, is, trying to be prepared and have like an idea what to do in every situation. Obviously, that's not always doable because sometimes things happen that you're not expecting, which I've gotten caught out on before, especially last season. Luckily, again, with those races last season, some things played my way and I was able to get some good spots and get lucky and get some wins sometimes. But, my goal every week is to try to put in a decent amount of time, prepare, learn the truck, learn the track, learn what I need to do with my tires and just try to go out there and do the best I can. And hopefully that's with me finishing in victory lane.
We look forward to this calendar, notably Lime Rock Park in a week's time, but I'll kind of keep it a little bit more broad. It seems like the complexion of tracks here in Season 2 very different. We saw a lot of intermediate race tracks in Season number 1, very few of them this time around, I think with the exception of Kentucky. and Darlington. So you got a road course. We head to Daytona. You got a couple of flatter tracks and a trip to Gateway, IRP, and others. How do you feel like your personal skill set aligns with the tracks that are on deck for these next 9 weeks?
Yeah, it's going to be challenging. We got a couple of road guys that joined. They primarily run road, so they joined for season 2. And obviously, we got Lime Rock and Watkins Glen later on in the season. I expect there to be a lot of competition at the road courses. We didn't get to go to a road course last season, and it's been a while since I've driven the truck at a road course other than COTA. So it'll be fun, especially with trucks going to Lime Rock for the first time. That I'm very much looking forward to. Short road course, kind of my wheelhouse with the short track stuff. So hopefully that translates to turning right as well. And then you got Daytona. Anyone can win that. That's a lot of luck involved there. But if I had to look forward in the schedule, I'd say Lucas Oil and Richmond and Milwaukee Mile are the ones I got my eyes set on to hopefully go out there and do everything I need to do to definitely get back in victory lane and hopefully dominate those races.
Well, it was maybe not necessarily domination, but it seemed comfortable enough with the way that this race played out. You guys got up front and didn't really look back much from there. We'll let you get out of here. Before we do, though, as always, though, Richard, the sponsors, the shout-outs of those good folks who makes it happen for you and the team.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to give a shout-out to State Analyzer, Mission 22, Multiple Sclerosis Society, Ninas and Paints, JZ Photography, SimGamingExpo, everyone that is on Regenboog Motorsports. Me and Robert had a really good run tonight. A couple of my other guys, they had some bad luck, and Matt Gagnon had a really good run coming back from the field. So definitely looking forward to carry the momentum for the team going forward in the season. And I'd like to give a shout out to everybody that supports Premier Sim Racing and you guys at Green Flag TV.
If it keeps going this way, you're going to run out of room for those winner stickers in the background. Richard, career race win number 7 in PSR for you. Thanks for chatting and congrats.
Thank you.
It's your race winner tonight from Pocono. It is Richard Regan Jr., race winner in the Nick and Ted's Tricky Triangle Extravaganza 190. Derrick, that's just so fun to say. I'm just going to keep saying it all night. I'll toss things back over to you. I think you might have Bradley Holly lined up next, P3.
Yeah, I think we do. The driver who's finished now third 4 times in PSR. Not the stat he wants. Bradley Holly, welcome into the broadcast booth. Well, that had some good green runs at the end. Felt like you were maybe getting close to Robert Barney at the end, but you just couldn't quite close the deal.
Yeah, I was definitely saving my tires. I felt like a little bit better than everybody in front of me. I just ran out of time. It's when you have 7 cautions, it kind of makes it harder to race. But what can you do?
Yeah, full field, and I think maybe when we look back, a lot of those just self-inflicted cautions. We'll have to let you guys take a look at that. But we look ahead next week to Lime Rock, a road course, and of course for you, a very busy weekend. You got a 24-hour race this weekend. You got Lime Rock next week, the 6 hours to Glen thereafter. So a very busy 10 days or so ahead of nothing but road course racing.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to suck up to my wife for a while because I've been nonstop the last 2 weeks for Le Mans and getting ready for all the racing next week is going to be just all my time is going to be on a computer, and then I'm going to be ready for a break.
So how do you manage that? For example, next, you're racing a car this weekend at a hosted Le Mans race. Next week, you're coming to race the truck at Lime Rock. Then you're going to come in and possibly race a third different car at the Glen. How do you manage that? Like, how do you kind of is that tough? Is it to have 3 different cars in 10 days?
I mean, depending on what GTP is going to be good at Watkins Glen, GTP is pretty simple to me to figure out once, at a track that I know very well. But just getting in laps, figuring out what setup, who I'm teaming up with for the Watkins 6 hour, and then seeing what the weather's going to be like. We have an idea what the weather's going to be like for Le Mans, and that's going to be interesting. And then for our PSR race, it's just trucks. Just wheel it and hope it sticks at some points, and then move on to Watkins 6 hour and have some fun there.
All right. Well, listen, we know you're good at road course racing, so maybe next week you can kind of crack that egg and find yourself in winner's circle. So we'll see you then. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's Bradley Holly. Once again, finishing P3 here in the Premier Sim Racing Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series. Well, stay tuned because right after this, we're going to head over to the Beer League over at Brands Hatch. They are racing for the final time this season in those Legends 34 Coupes. Evan, they are whipping those things around a road course. It is a blast to watch.
Yeah, quite a different challenge than these big, bulky NASCAR trucks, but maybe the same amount of fun on a road course. So if you want an appetizer for our race in a week's time, maybe enjoy some of the action there at one of the best road circuits in the world. And we look forward to one of the best in the U.S., Lime Rock Park, coming up next. A refreshed version, one of many tracks that iRacing has rescanned and given an art update to in the last couple of years, but is an iconic iRacing road course. It's been on the sim for what feels like forever. There's elevation change, there's high-speed corners, there's low-speed corners. It's going to be fascinating, I think, Derrick, to see what this field looks like on the challenge on the road course. And that's going to be an endurance race to an extent. Not literally, but you're not going to have full course cautions, restarts, groups, all that. So you're going to have to pace yourself. It's not going to be the stop and start big moment kind of race like we saw here tonight.
Yeah, we're like 99% guaranteed for no caution. So 75 minutes at a very fast track, by the way. So we'll see how that pace works out. But again, that's 1 week from tonight. But as we wrap up tonight, once again, congrats to Richard Regan Jr. And it's been just an incredible night to kick off season 2. Lots of new drivers, new paints, but a winner we've seen many, many times before.
And will we see many more times as the season goes on? Well, you're going to have to tune in and join us. 1 race down, 9 to go. That'll be it for us here tonight from Pocono. On behalf of our entire team at Green Flag TV, on behalf of our friends over at Premier Sim Racing, and for your broadcast team tonight. For our producer, Dustin Ollis, for Derek Watson, and myself, Evan Posocco, I want to say thanks for tuning in, and we're going to catch you once more in 1 week's time, Wednesday, June 25th, at iRacing's virtual Lime Rock Park. That race and every race of the Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series can always be found right here on Green Flag TV. Till then, good night from Pocono, and congratulations to your race winner tonight. The champ is back in victory lane. It's Richard Regan Jr. again.